Going to be a fundraiser in July in honor of my 80th birthday, and it's going to be held July 12th at Seneca Park here in Rochester. And we're trying to raise $80,000 for my 80 years of life to help the House of Mercy so we can continue our ministry. And this ministry will also include Sanctuary Village because we're all be one unit, and we definitely could use the money for the homeless and to continue our ministry either here or in another building, but the $80,000 would help us to continue our ministry with the poor, the hungry, and the homeless. I've been a Sister of Mercy for 60 years, entering at the age 20, and I couldn't believe it was my 60th anniversary, nor my 80th birthday, but anyways, as a Sister of Mercy, the concept of mercy is really important to me, and as a Sister of Mercy, I can live out mercy, being merciful and compassionate towards people in need. And I worked many years in the inner city, and at nighttime I would be out and driving down the street. I would see homeless people on the street with no place to go, so I would stop. I would pick them up and take them to homeless shelters, only to find that the homeless shelters refused them. And that shocked me because I believed that every homeless shelter took in homeless people. And this was on my mind as I kept picking them up and taking the homeless shelters, and the refusals continued. And then one winter, it was extremely bitterly cold winter, and I saw 3 churches open up their basements for the homeless. And so I saw this man at night walking down the street. I thought, he's going to freeze to death out there. And then I saw he was heading towards one of the churches that had opened up as a shelter, and there were 2 men standing outside. And I thought, well, why don't they open up the doors earlier? It is so cold outside. And they did. So I took the 3 men, put them in my car to keep them warm, and we drove around the city, and then came back, went downstairs in the basement to the shelter, and we were refused shelter. And they said they had 10 men. They didn't have room for any more. And I begged them to take the men in, and they refused. So I asked them if they would call another shelter, one of the other churches, which they did. And the second church said they had 7 men. They didn't have any more room. So I begged them to take the men. They took 1, and that left 2 more men. So I didn't have them call the 3rd church because over the telephone it's too easy to say no. So I drove them to the 3rd church, and went down the basement, and I said, I have 2 homeless men, would you take them in? And they said no, there was no room. They had 10 homeless men, there wasn't room for 1 more. And I was really upset. I thought, surely you could make room for 2 more people. But they refused, and I said, well, then I'm not leaving unless you take them in. And they took them in. And then that night I could go home in peace, knowing that the men were not out in the cold streets. And all I could think of that night was there was no room in the inn, So that bothered me, and it was on my mind, and I thought there has to be a place that's open 24 hours in the city of Rochester, 24/7, where homeless people can come in any time of the day or night and be received just as they are and welcomed just as they are, and be taken care of and not be refused. I believe very strongly in hospitality, and I believe that hospitality is opening up our hearts and minds and souls and our places for people that are in need. And so I submitted a proposal to the Sisters of Mercy, and they gave me, it passed, and they offered me $20,000 for the year, and told me I would have to do my own fundraising, which I never ever did in my life. And I thought, oh, how can I do fundraising? I didn't say anything to them. I just took the grant and ran, and went looking for a place. And instead of a storefront, I found a small house with 5 rooms, right in the area I was looking at. And on October 1st, 1985, 30 years ago, this October, will be the 30th anniversary of the opening of the House of Mercy. And when we opened, we had nothing. But that first month in October, over 600 people came to the House of Mercy for help. Then the next month, 700, 800. I couldn't believe the numbers were just increasing. And I thought, this is not my work. This is God's work, for the people to keep coming. And today we have over 4,000 people a month that come to us.